My buddy JT is in the studio. Jorge Torres. He's with Interlink Trade Services, Interlink. And man, we've been waiting for weeks and weeks for the High Court to finally say yay or nay. We kind of knew it was probably going towards nay because this IEPA, this emergency trade power that is given to the president in the event of something bad happening. I guess the president still can, right, stop trade or prevent certain things from coming in or going out. Yeah. The thing is that President Trump, of this IEPA statute, he used it to impose tariffs. And from the beginning, in arguments back in October, the High Court said, well, you put tariffs on this thing, you can stop trade, you can prevent things going in and out, but it doesn't sound like, well, only Congress can do the whole tariff. So anyway, the High Court on Friday said, IEPA, no tariffs on IEPA. But there are other provisions for the president to impose tariffs, as he did. Okay, so let's take a step back. And I think the number was $175 billion that had been collected by this administration under this use of IEPA, as they call it, which was, again, help me with the acronym. It's International
Emergencies Powered Act.
Yeah.
So it's basically what you mentioned. It's stop, certain products, certain things coming in from an emergency standpoint, a national emergency. But tariffs were not mentioned specifically.
Yeah,
you can assess tariff in the IEPA.
But there are tariff provisions, so we'll go there here in a little bit. Okay, so if there's $175 billion that were collected incorrectly, unconstitutionally, illegally. Let's say, because it's a provision, it's not constitutional issue, illegal. So when do the importers, when do they get their refund checks? That's not as easy. It's gonna go back to the courts for probably a long time. So I don't think that check's coming anytime soon. Do you think?
We don't expect that to be immediate. Obviously, the consensus is that, yes, they were illegal. So importers, which are the entities that pay the actual tariffs, should be refunded because they were illegal. There's legal precedents that any illegal tariff that happened with the HMF back earlier in the 80s. So they should be refunded. However, the court decision didn't mention specifically if they're going to be refunded and how. So that's going back to the CIT, the Court of International Trade, and CBP to work out. So we still don't know exactly how's that going to play out as far as the mechanisms and when, if it's going to be only for those entities that sue the government, which is over 1,000 entities, if it's going to be open to everyone to get a refund. So there's still a lot of unknowns on how that's going to play out.
Of the 1,000 entities that actually went to court and sued to stop the tariff implementation on IEPA, do we have any idea how much of the $175 billion that is? Is it half? Do they represent a tenth? Do you have any idea?
I don't have a specific number, but it's pretty high there. There's a big corporation like Costco and Chicken of the Sea and a bunch of companies that sued the government. So, but it's pretty high.
So as soon as the decision came in on Friday, I'm sure your phone was blowing up, right? And your employees also, their phone's blowing up. So tell me what comments and questions that were coming in on Friday, you, an expert in import and export of the importers, what were they talking to you, asking you on Friday?
There were two basic questions. Okay, so as of today, I'm not paying that anymore, right? And then the other one was, when am I getting my money back? When can we start getting?
Question one, is that true? They stopped on Friday, or
no?
Everything changes tomorrow.
No, that's something that didn't happen on Friday. We got an official communication by Customs guidance, which we call CSMS messages, that effective on the 24th, which is tomorrow, Tuesday at 12:01 Eastern time, which is 11:01, Monday, that they're going to stop collecting those tariffs. So that's pretty much I can say with confidence that as of tomorrow, the 24th, no more collection of the IEPA tariffs.
Okay. That was one question.
One.
And the other question or comment coming in?
Is, when am I getting my money back? So we already talked about that it's not going to be that easy. We still have to see what's going to happen. We still need guidance, what the mechanism. We have an idea how can it work, but it's not official, and we don't know exactly when. We might get some information later on today, but we'll have to wait and see.
What would you say was, to the end consumer, to where it matters. Because I know folks driving around town, whatever they're doing right now, they're thinking, okay, how did this affect me? How will this decision affect me? Because inflation is around 2.7 and change, or 2.5%, which is really much closer to the traditional level of 2%. So did all these tariffs have a significant impact to the end user, or was it absorbed through middlemen and corporations? As we saw these write-ups, that how they were absorbed by industry and retail.
Well, as we know, the initial consensus from economists and analysts was that these tariffs were going to create a major impact on inflation, which it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And there are several reasons. There's, for example, a lot of companies had inventory, or when they saw that they were coming, they imported goods without the tariffs. So
there was a rush back April.
They replenished inventories.
Yeah.
So that kind of flushed, and also sellers, exporters, and importers kind of absorbed most of the costs. There were negotiations done. So with the inventory backup and with the absorption, they didn't really pass it along to the end consumer until right now. We're seeing that they're passing it along. So that's why we didn't see a big jump in inflation because of the tariffs. So that's one thing. The other one is obviously, like you asked, how, okay, now we don't have the IEEPA tariffs. How is it going to impact in my pocket?
Yeah.
Well, right now, we're still not clear because there's still a lot of questions, like the refund side of things, and there's new tariffs coming in. So it's not the end of the road for tariffs, and the mechanisms for the refunds are not there yet. So in the short term, I don't see any major impact on the deep pockets or on the pockets of people. We'll just have to wait and see.
If you could describe in a minute this 15% global tariff that the president has put in place after the High Court said no. Okay, well, let me use the president and the White House took a step back and said, okay, let's use existing law that allows the White House to impose tariffs. Describe that for me, that 15% tariff. Like, what is it? And how does it apply? For how long? All those things.
Well, it's more of a balance of payment for dollar when their dollar is weak. So he's using that because the president has the right to implement that. It's Section 122. It can be as high as 15%. He initially mentioned 10%, and actually the executive order was issued with 10% last Friday. But he put a post in social media in that he's going to increase it up to 50%, which he can. He
15,
can. 15.
Yeah.
And it can be in place for 150 days. And if it's extended, it has to be with Congress approval. So he's using that across the board.
Which begs the question, okay, 150 day on a yearly calendar basis, fiscal year basis, or 150 days period. And then after that, you have to go back to Congress, no matter what. It's not reset every year.
It's 150 days from the date of from Friday, for example, when the executive order. So it's 150 days from the date of implementation.
And it doesn't reset yearly or fiscal year.
No. He has to, he can use it one time, and then he has to get Congress approval to use it again.
So he's got 5 months of that. In the meantime, go back to the drawing board and use other tariff provisions, right?
Yeah, Secretary of the Treasury Bison mentioned, well, they're pretty much, he said, don't expect tariff revenue in 2026 to come down. Actually, it's going to stay the same or maybe higher. So they're using this 150-day window to work out new tariffs or additional tariffs using other means, such as Section 232, which is for national security, and Section 301, which is for unfair trade practices. So be careful what you wish for, because, we got rid of IEEPA, but the president said, I have other means to do it. Section 232 and Section 301, although the president has the power to implement, they do have to go through certain processes, but he can get his way and get those processes approved. So that's what's going to happen within the next 150 days. We're going to probably see more Section 232 and Section 301 tariffs to replace IEEPA.
From Interlink Trade Services, he's an expert when it comes to import and export issues. My friend Jorge Torres in the studio. And those other tariff provisions, they have exclusions on certain things that cannot be placed. I would imagine exclusions for previous trade agreements. There was a quick write-up on, I think it was Reuters on this one, Canada-Mexico trade agreement. There's certain things you can't impose, right? There's restrictions on those tariffs.
Not so much restrictions, but he understands. For example, the IEEPA didn't impact USMCA qualifying goods. So with the Section 122, if there was a non-USMCA qualifying good from Mexico, it was a IEEPA fentanyl 25% and 35% for Canada. But if there were USMCA, no impact on IEEPA. The same thing with Section 122. If it's a USMCA qualifying product, it's not going to be impacted by this tariff. And also Section 232 for metal derivatives as well.
I want to get your thoughts on, and we talked a little bit about this, and we saw it in the last little newscast, where, for example, Brussels, the EU, they're taking a step back on, hey, well, we agreed to do a new trade agreement with the U.S., and it was good. All these promises of trillions of dollars in investment into the U.S., and of course, new numbers on how much they're going to charge us sending stuff there and how much we're going to charge them sending stuff here. So where do you think all these trade agreements go from here?
Yeah, like we've seen in the last few months. I mean, there are trade agreements trade deals that were finalized with certain countries. Some were in the pipeline to get finalized. Some
because
were
the
getting
president
started.
used IEEPA as a stick.
Exactly.
Okay.
That IEEPA tariffs kind of force countries to sit down with the president or the government to negotiate deals. But now, like, for example, okay, so we're going to have 15% Section 122 tariffs. Wait a minute. My deal was at 10%, so I'm going to be getting dinged for another 5%, or my deal was at 19%. Oh, great. 15% is better. So, but still that uncertainty and that confusion is making countries go back to the drawing board and say, wait a minute, let's figure it out how this Section 122 is going to impact me with the trade deal that we agreed upon. So this brings another layer of renegotiations and clarification from the government to these countries.
I think you touched on it a little bit earlier, but again, as most folks might be thinking, they're just paying attention. How's this going to affect my pocketbook? How's this going to affect prices at the store? If you look at the store, some of the tariffs are already removed. Cocoa, bananas, some of the tropicals.
Yeah.
That was in order to make things more at the grocery store, make things more affordable. So I guess the short answer would be, like you said earlier, no major changes in prices anytime soon.
No, not for now, because again, we're going to have, obviously there are certain commodities that are going to be exempt, certain food products, central chemicals, minerals, critical minerals, aircraft parts, they're going to be exempt from the 122, but they're very specific for national security purposes. But as far as the consumer pricing, we're not going to see any major changes because of still they're trying to sort out what's going to happen.
Well, I'm sure folks who are the middlemen and in retail very happy they don't have to swallow the tariffs anymore. You'll be, and I got to go, but you'll be touching on this. I'm going to send everybody over to the chamber in McAllen. You'll be talking about this on, you tell me.
Yeah, Thursday the 26th at 8 a.m. We're going to have trade talks there at the McAllen Chamber of Commerce in the McAllen Economic Development. We're going to have a panel, Dan Group, President CEO from Belvac, which is a company that has manufacturing operation in Reynosa for heavy truck parts. Ralph Garcia will be the moderator, and we're going to touch on this subject and USMCA as well.
Yeah.
So.
I call it, when I went visit and found somebody from the Fed over there to do an interview, I found out the tacos. That's why they didn't invite me. Sergio's going to eat all the tacos. It's Trade Talk and Tacos Thursday at the McAllen Chamber. What time?
8 a.m.
8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
JT, thanks for stopping by, brother.
Thank you.
From Interlink Trade Services, Jorge Torres.